Now we can start.
Yep.
I want to call the meeting to order. I would note the presence in person, Craig Schulte from the City Council, and Bob Nesham, and Frankie Jalko by modern technology means. And we're missing Rita Hinchman. And I call the meeting to order. The first question is the agenda. You've received the agenda ahead of time. Does anybody want to change anything on the agenda?
No additions.
By unanimous consent, then the agenda is adopted. The minutes. Has anybody found anything they want different about the minutes? Hearing nothing, do I have unanimous consent that the minutes are approved? They
Yes.
are. Okay. Now, whoever's taking the minutes of this meeting will probably be surprised by the unanimous consent, but they can probably roll with it. Yeah, okay. The first item of business on the agenda is the golf report, and we have Paul Jones, our golfer, our golf guru. The grass guy.
Yeah, the grass guy. Well, basically, there's two words, strong and dry. That's how our season's been. It's been, our numbers are up. Play is, we're having a lot of good visiting golf, people coming through, enjoying the course. We're getting good comments and all that. It's just very dry. We're keeping the greens in is good condition, and the fairways are, we're keeping them alive, but some are better than others. We've got
I
areas.
assume you're watering the fairways.
We are. It's very minimal. Just as much as we can spare. We've got a limited amount of water, and we have to have a feel for if that's going to get us through. And it's something that we were really concerned about, and we've been so concerned about it for so long that we're getting numb to that a little bit. But the fact remains that we have our supply of water's limited, and it's being used every day, and so we're just remain hopeful.
Where does the golf course get its water from?
Well, we've got the pond. The irrigation comes from the pond on number 4 tee box. It's right there.
And that pond is getting kind of sloughly, isn't it?
It is. You get typical summer scum or algae a little bit on the top. It's not too bad, but I've seen worse in other locations, but we also have the back pond that we try to draw a little water off of that, and that's really
The back pond back where?
the one that goes by number 2,
Oh, sure.
and it presents itself a little bit along number 5 to the left there. But we can try to borrow a little water from there, but there's really not much to get. So we're just remaining hopeful and keep looking at the weather, and that's about it. We've got, but anyway, our numbers have been good throughout. July was good. It was up from previous year almost 20%. So, and then we had, this last few days into this month here have been really good. Like today's nuts up there. It's really busy, and we've had some issues with carts. Running out of carts, but Tony and Eric that are running the clubhouse up there are doing they're doing a really good job of dealing with the public and dealing with the carts, and so it's all been positive, really. We've got coming up this weekend on Saturday, we've got like 3 tournaments in one day on Saturday. The course is closed until I think it's 1:30 to the general public, because we've got the Spry has a family tournament in the morning, then the Greshicks have one. That's like their 30th annual. And then there's a Grand Marais 40th reunion is having one in the afternoon. So it's been busy. We have at the end of the month, we have a tournament for the vets. It's like a best ball, four-person best ball tournament. We did that for the first time last year, and went well. So that one isn't, from what I'm looking at, there's, a sign-up chart for teams. I don't see it being full yet, but hopefully that'll fill up pretty quick.
When's football? What's the date on
The 28th.
that?
Yeah.
I gather the Y's going back to Superior National this year because you guys couldn't find the date you could work together on, from what I heard.
Well, that's not true. We never really had the conversation. I called out there a few times, never really got a response. I got an email back, but they're interested in Superior National, I think, for their growth of what they're trying to do. I think they considered the statements are basically about us not having enough carts, which is, kind of true, but I think that we can accommodate that. I think we're pretty close now. And the other thing was about food choices, but at that tournament, it was catered, so I didn't really understand that comment, but
I saw that email. She also mentioned proximity, that, a lot of their traffic's from Duluth and this is closer.
oh yeah, okay, they're trying to tie it in with the Duluth Y or something, yeah. So,
I personally hope that we end up getting it back in the Gunflint Hills because
yeah,
it's
I'm
so
not.
much closer to the Y and
Do
it's so much less expensive.
Yeah, do you know what
we
date?
can give them money and not have to pay so much.
And do you know what date that is this year out there? Or see, last year it kind of puzzled me. We
It
were.
was poor.
Pardon me?
There was very poor attendance last year.
Yeah, well, it was like October 5th
Yeah.
was their date, and the note that you had sent me was something about, the first or second prime time weekend in July, and so that wouldn't really be feasible. We have to keep those open to the public, really. We could do it like on a Monday or a Tuesday or something like that, or possibly even a Sunday, but we couldn't do it on a Saturday,
Yeah.
But yeah, we had the tournament that they did have there. It went well, I thought, and they had a lot of fun. It was I think it was full.
Do we have any projection at this point about how we're going to come out in relationship to the budget and the amount the city might be asked to kick in?
Well, I don't know. We're just talking about those numbers and what those numbers are. I mean, I'm not exactly sure what the deficit is exactly. I've got to look into that because, yeah, we want to get into the black, and each year we've been progressing. Like I said at the beginning, I think it's due to conditions. Now our greens right now are really good, and we get comments about it all the time, and as a result, I'm seeing more people come through that we haven't seen before, and I think that people in town or whoever recommends it, Facebook or whatever, they aren't afraid to recommend our course. So
Must be all that internet advertising and an occasional sign.
the signs, I think, actually did help. Yeah, I noticed an improvement right away. So yeah, those things, I think still social media is something we need to focus on. I guess I probably need to bear down on that for fall. I think fall's a good, according to Mike Davies, who was a superintendent at Superior National, he said that September was, one of their strongest months, so fall colors and all that. And, with social media and stuff, it'd be nice to be able to latch on to some of that.
So we'll be doing some internet advertising that, see your fall colors and don't pay so much?
Well, see the fall colors and pay all you can.
Economically.
Yeah.
But
Oh, good.
in regards to your question, Steve, on the budget, and we have, I think the approximate shortfall is 50,000,
5-0?
50.
It was less than that last year, wasn't it?
Closer to 25.
Yeah.
And we would expect the same this year with the trending right now 20% up on revenue. Right, we had about a 150 figure in for revenue and a 200 for expenses. So if we finish revenue more like 175, 180, you know, then we're talking 20, 25,000.
Okay.
You know, one thing that's really weird about this weather is that we don't like it agronomically, but the golfers, they love it, you know, the ball rolls farther and all that. It makes them feel better. And it's not raining on them, of course, and so that's all good, but yeah.
I didn't understand that, Paul. What were you saying?
I was just saying,
Dry is good for golf,
yeah, drying,
bad for grass.
yeah, it's, so I think our numbers are doing pretty good, you know, so long as we don't run out of water. That would be a tragedy, because then our greens would die.
I take it we don't have any emergency connection to the city water system?
No, we
4
don't.
miles away,
Wrong side of the hill.
No,
really big pipe. Talk to Lutsen Mountains on that. Water tower.
yeah,
No, I know last month Paul was getting real creative on trucking water in, bulk water trucked in, but getting it into the cistern is an issue. We can't drive the big water truck over to the pump house.
well, I was talking
What we need to have is a rain dance golf tournament.
Only at night, rain at night.
well, I think what we should do is have a car wash, everybody get their car washed, and maybe that would help, I don't know.
Say, we haven't played yet. It's time.
No,
I think I have your email, don't I? I think I do.
yeah, I haven't done anything this year.
Well, there's still time, brother. You're a young man.
Yeah, well, okay.
We got 3 new ones, so we had, oh yeah, the other topic too about the carts. Now we've got those 8 electric ones, and those have been the preferred carts. We redid the seats on them, and they actually look pretty nice, you know. The problem that we have is that they were purchased, you can purchase those pretty cheap, and the reason is because in a few years the batteries will go bad, and it costs a lot of money to replace them. We're in the process of trying to find out what the price of the replacement is. You have to do the batteries, the connections, the cables, all that has to be replaced. And, you know,
Last time I had to replace batteries in my own golf cart somewhere else, it was $800 for 4 batteries.
well, yeah, that's not the numbers I'm thinking, but that would be nice. Yeah, I thought it'd be closer to, for those kind of batteries, it would be closer to, you know, $1,600.
Per cart?
Yeah.
Ooh,
Yeah, I kind of look back at some of the information from, they had ordered them before I got there, maybe the year before.
of course, these are gas carts. They're not electric carts, so they're a different kind of battery to go.
Yeah,
on.
they're really elaborate batteries. There's 4 huge batteries in there. And it's a different scenario than, you know, going down to Napa and getting a battery. It's a specialty battery. So my concern is if we're running up close to $2,000 per cart, you know, I don't know.
Were these used carts?
They were they were purchased as used carts, yeah.
They look pretty nice.
Yeah. Well, we kind of put the spit and polish on a lot of stuff, and those ones clean up pretty good.
Well, if the battery replacement is as big a deal as you say, we may be wanting to buy new carts.
Well, yeah, it's too bad because the ones that are really, you know, the spit and polish doesn't really work on them, and they're like really old, like over 20 years old. Some of those are still running. They make a lot of noise, and they're rickety, and they're about, you know, they could go at any time.
You're talking about the ones we already own.
The white ones,
Yeah.
a lot of those white ones are really tough. Like we've got one now. It's got, you know, we've got the batteries kind of strapped up so they don't fall through the frame, that sort of thing. You know? But, you know, people are riding them, you know, and that's kind of the point too, is you can make revenue, you don't have to pay on them, you know. That's a good thing for us, but when reality comes to replacing them, I don't know. So I think we're going to be kind of looking at that pretty hard, yeah.
Yeah, budget cycle's up. We're working on budgets and
I got 3 used for something. add some every year, that's the object, right?
We don't know. Paul's got plenty, he's got ideas on,
Unless you can,
I can't quite hear you, Craig.
You can, there's.
we're just talking about cart turnover and building the inventory. Obviously, I think the more carts we have, the more money the golf course will make. It's just that, you know, we gotta spend a little money and make a little money, and we gotta be creative on how we acquire them.
Right now, we're like at the creative ends of trying to make this whole thing work, you know? And the guys up there are like doing a phenomenal job. But if that was the norm every day, like when the Canadian borders open and we even have more business, my fear of those guys would be going, you know, it'd be too much, so. Yeah.
well, good job.
Thank you.
Busy season.
Yeah,
So that's for sure.
it is.
Thank you.
Yep, thank you.
See you tomorrow, stop by.
Thanks, Steve.
Next item on the agenda is the report from the city council. Craig, what do you have for us, if anything?
That pertains to the rec park, let's see.
If you cover your mouth, I won't be able to read your lips.
Pertains to the rec park, is it working? We did have one item on the agenda that might pertain to the rec park a little bit is the marina end of it, as far as dealing with the Coast Guard station. The Coast Guard plans on backing out of that station, and the city council did go ahead and write a letter and submit it to the Coast Guard to show our interest in keeping it active to some point. I don't know what they're gonna decide to do totally, but they do plan on eliminating that guard station. And then therefore, your safety net would be based out of Duluth for any boating mishaps that we may or may not have up here. So the city council did approve a letter that got drafted and sent forward. So I thought that was something we needed to do. What else pertains to the park? I can't really. Anything, Dave, that you can think of? I don't.
I got our capital meeting last week.
Oh,
and
yeah,
our
yeah,
Parks
yeah.
report.
We had the main. I had to miss half part of that meeting, but yeah.
Yeah, I can talk about.
Yeah,
that.
go ahead. That was department head meeting.
Oh, yeah, so last Wednesday, I believe it was, all day meeting about, yeah, 9 to 3, we met up at Higher Ed, the department heads, and then city council, and Mike Roth and Kim, the city hall staff. We had a work session, a strategy session on capital priorities for the council for the moving forward. As they, every so often, every 2 to 4 years, I'd say we do this kind of intensive all-day exercise. Department heads present the state of affairs for the departments, and the council gets to ask questions of things. How are our buildings? How are the roads? Tom Nelson from the freshwater and wastewater department is kind of center stage with his, he's got the wastewater treatment plant that's aging and very intensive for parts and maintenance and upkeep, and I felt like Tom did a really good job of presenting his needs to keep the city in fresh water and treated water. And so I thought his priorities percolated up. Yeah. Lenny was there from the street department talking about the conditions of roads. You're right, they had a road map of the town and multiple ratings for roads, some being in good condition, some fair, and some poor. And then I had our Parks Department report talking about our buildings, our bathhouses, our office, roads, utilities, all the usual we had looked at in April. If you recall, we did a little capital prioritizing back in April, and identified the landing and the connection, and the community connection, you know, the little deck we're looking at with CJ last month is a priority. And our ongoing upgrades to utilities and campsites. And the council was keen on our marina and moving around the fuel dock a little bit if possible. It's a smaller project, so that's something I'm looking into as far as moving our fuel pump out to the east side where it's easy, safer for boaters to get access. We talked about bathhouse 3 a little, which would be our first need to rebuild a bathhouse is on the horizon. But end of the day, you know, it was a big whiteboard of ideas and projects and ranking and dotmocracy, voting by dots and what's the most important. And I felt it was the wastewater treatment plant. Some street reconstructions on like First, I think was the most maybe street. Of course, City Hall Liquor Store project is always on the top there. I think you guys are chipping away at that. But yeah, just a good exercise for, there's, you know, one newer counselor that hadn't been through it before, so he was enlightened. It's a good day with council.
We've sort of segued from the city council report into the parks report.
Yeah.
Is there more from the city council that you wanted to bring up, Craig?
No, as far as what it pertaining to the park, that was a department head meeting, and everybody did a great job presenting their departments. And I just was referring to the park as a whole. So,
Anything more you want to say about the parks report?
Well, yeah, just some, you know, briefly on July was just the busiest of busy. The hot dry, as Paul has alluded to, is just great for our outdoor recreation business. Camping, boating just thrives when it's hot and dry. So
We get our water from the lake, right?
we do,
From the city water system or from a direct connection?
well, from the city system.
Okay,
it's gonna be
Goes
treated.
up the hill and then comes back down.
okay.
But the intake and treatment plant is right there down at the
Right.
end of the
Yep.
road. But, yeah, I was just pleased with staff, been really solid. I always tip the hat to our staff because they're in the trenches there every day, cleaning bathhouses and checking people in, and the pace has just been nonstop, you know, every night, practically every night we've been full, even in the weeknights, and haven't really had a chance to look at the numbers, we just know they're good. But the budget cycle starts soon. Our rough drafts for 2022 budgets are due this week, and then at the end of the month, we'll meet with city council and work out the budgets as we go forward in September and October. Typical season for budgeting.
So have we decided how the city's going to go to the dogs? We lost our dog pound.
Oh.
Have we replaced it yet or
I
figured it
don't know
out
the
yet?
status of that.
Or what are we doing in the meantime?
I don't know, Craig, you got any?
Well, I think they're still,
Pat, the sheriff's been
yeah,
spearheading it.
they're
Say
still.
again?
The sheriff, Pat, a license, it's kind of his thing now.
Okay.
Yeah.
So are you saying Pat's keeping the dogs for us while we're working
Well, I
that?
don't think-
I honestly can't say. I
I
think
don't
it's
know if
either
we've
foster
had-
care or
if we've
we
had
really
any.
don't get a lot of calls.
Yeah.
Or a lot of demand. It was.
But
I
there
think-
is a plan for a building and a builder, and I think I think right now it's more or less just defining the site. And if we go into the business park, it's how to handle the land exchange in the EDA and how.
So what we need is somebody with a bullwhip to get to the people and get them to make a decision of some kind. Is that about what I'm hearing?
Well, I think that there's been quite a bit of talking going on, so I think that they've made quite a bit of progress. It's just, you know, when to start, and there's still a couple issues, I think, with the location
Yeah.
right
And
now.
I would say we don't need a bullwhip because it's
No.
kind of like this. Like
I
we're
realize
not
that we're not gonna
we're
need a
not the-
bullwhip because the dogs aren't our problem exactly.
Right.
Right. And fortunately, there's, you know, very low volume of strays and
Right.
the need
Right.
for a building and a pound is just even a little nebulous, I would say.
You know, it occurs to me that on an emergency basis, we could use one of these places that has dog teams. If there was an extra dog that needed the Cape, we could pay them enough to make it worthwhile.
I heard that early on in the discussion with the sheriff that.
I mean, at least between now and the
yeah,
time
do
they get a
we need
building.
Can we get by with foster
Yeah.
type care. And
Yeah,
I think that's what they're doing
I think
now.
that's what they've been doing with foster care right now, because that's, happens a lot everywhere.
Yeah. So the animal advocates are working with the county and.
Yep.
Okay, well, we don't have to spend a lot of energy on
We're out
it
of
because
dog
it's not our
pound
dog
business.
pound anymore.
No, that's the second good news here is the shop and the pound are demolished.
Right.
And the point's looking really good down there. The Parkside project's really right on time as far as the break wall reconstruction. You can all see the progress down there. The concrete is being, or the forms are getting set for concrete pouring soon. There's gonna be that finished capped sidewalk on top of the rocks, accessible by all. Nice little parapet bench for seating, very architectural with its ribbon shaped, and then the lake side of that knee wall will have an inverted angular surface to deflect the waves down, give it a little flare.
Dave has offered to take me and anybody else who was interested on a tour of the property. Since I've never done that, I assume you'd be interested.
Sure. I just drove down there on the way here.
But I'm talking about the whole park, not just the
Oh,
thing.
no, I didn't.
Francie, if you're interested, we can have, let Dave know so that we can coordinate.
Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, the boat launch is going well. Shop's gone, Dog's Pound's gone. Really, we're peak season right now for trailer boats, anglers with trailerable boats, which we're really putting to the test this idea of the one launch in town being here down at the Coast Guard now, and I'm monitoring it closely. It's very busy, especially in the mornings and evenings, which is coincidentally good for the tourist use of that parking lot. It's, you know, in that outside of peak angling hours. So we're able to get the early anglers in and plenty of parking down there in the early morning slots. It just gets really crazy on a weekend or an afternoon down at the Coast Guard lot. You know, we see some truck trailers kind of parking up on the side of things just because there's no place to go on a busy Saturday afternoon. But most of my park folks that were used to the launch at the end of the road had some real initial grumblings and worries that it's not going to work across the bay, and I think that's proven wrong. If they're making it work, they're patient, they're doing a good job with it. So, yeah, it's really been a
And when will the boat landing be reinstated here in the park?
completely finished next fall, because it's a two-phase project.
Right, but I mean,
This
it'll be
fall,
usable.
Hopefully, yes, by the end of September is their substantial completion date. September 28th is when the current crew is under contract to be done.
And it'll be usable again next spring until they start working again.
That's our hope. That's our hope.
Frankie, you have any questions or issues that haven't been addressed that you care about?
Yes. I think Patrick needs to find a new way to get us on the internet. This doesn't work, and when you have to go to a public place, that doesn't work, because here I was in a public place and I couldn't get on, and I didn't have my phone because I wasn't in my home, and so I couldn't call you and tell you I couldn't get on. So if we were on Zoom, then we could stay in our own units and it would work so much better.
Well, it's not the Zoom versus Google Meets, Frankie. It's the statutory requirements of the open meeting laws that you'd still have to be in a public place if you were using the Zoom app.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Can we change the law? I mean,
Sorry?
it doesn't make sense. I don't have a phone here. I can't contact you if I can't get your picture on.
Yeah. Well, I'm sorry. We'll have to see what we can do. Obviously, we'll see what we can do, Frankie, but I can't change the law. We can't change the law.
One other question that I have, when we were on the Zoom thing, we had closed captions available to us. Well, I can't read what Frankie's saying. If we could figure out a way to do closed captions, I assume she can't read what I'm saying either.
We can do closed captions, and I think the solution if we do closed captions, then everyone in the room will see them, and they'll be baked into the YouTube presentation, so you won't be able to turn them off. But I think what I could do to solve that problem for you is have a computer in front of you, and the closed captions will.
That
on
would
the
be
screen.
fine, however you want to do it.
I can do that.
Thank you. Bob, you have any comments or questions or issues that you wanted to address that we haven't talked about already?
Are we done with the parks report?
I could be done.
We've been doing it for the last several minutes subtly.
Casually.
Well, I ride through the campground and I ride through the front of it and check out the break wall and things are fine. The next issue of concern is the one we talked about last month, which is melding the incoming high visibility, high business bike trail into the traffic of Grand Marais, and I think that's going to be discussed at Active Living tomorrow again. And then, Dave, you suggested we do that over the winter to sign the city congruent with, but not identical with, state DNR signage to direct people down and through. And then there's some old history about why it goes along Wisconsin rather than up 61. I learned that this week. It's really interesting. But Buck is gone, so maybe it can move now. So we'll see.
Can you tell me again what it is that we're talking about? There's a connection between
The
what and what?
Gitchigami Bike Trail is being
Right,
opened. It'll have a formal opening, ribbon cutting in September, and all the dignitaries will be up here. It's already becoming a high-volume trail for hiking and walking and dogs and kids and bicycles. The e-bike company in Cascade is going to be a huge presence on that trail. And they come down to 8th, and then there will be a new trail from 8th down to what? Below North House, I guess. And then that'll feed into the city. People coming down that path will need to go either down Wisconsin Street or cross Wisconsin at the corner at Java Moose, and then go down Highway 61 on the new bike path.
okay.
And how to direct that traffic safely to minimize any risk of little toddler getting run over is a big deal.
Got it.
The original route down Wisconsin Street was because permission to run down 61 was declined when this was done, what, 10 years ago?
Over, more like 20.
Yeah, and that now has been changed, and we can probably redirect people right along. I would think going for the Dairy Queen would be a sell anyway for the kids. And then right along 61, crossing at Broadway, and then on the upper side of 61 down to the Gunflint. And then how to sign that, the city will have to sign that because it's city trail. I don't think it's on DOT land, is it?
That extra wide sidewalk,
Yeah,
I believe it's in the right of way.
okay, so it's DOT land, but city has rights to sign it. And the state, I'm sure, will not take Gitchigami signs and put them on city property, but they might allow us to modify it a little bit and say, this is where the traffic and trail goes, or if you want to go down to Severson's, turn right. But how to make that safe for a family of kids out of control on their bikes is something we can do preemptively, I think. Look ahead on it.
Thank you, that's a helpful explanation.
And then tomorrow there's a meeting that'll include some of this, and then the Gitchigami Trail folks, the board's all over this, trying to make that safe and smooth. The DNR quits at 8th Avenue. The city has the next mile of convoluted traffic.
I have
That's my
one
bag.
question that's way late to be asked. But what's the theory of the community connection? I
Front
understand.
door for the park,
Pardon?
like a welcoming entrance and exit to the park from the community,
From the North House, basically, or from that site?
from the east side.
Okay. Thank you.
And so, and a brief update there, CJ, the architect we worked with last meeting, CJ Fernandez, has been in touch with the Morrison family. I believe he's scheduling a meeting this month with them to go over some of those questions we had about price and commission and design. And with any luck, we'll have CJ back in September or October at the latest to discuss his findings.
Okay, so we don't have a conclusion yet, but there's been helpful discussions.
Meetings have been arranged.
Okay. Are we finished with the Parks report? Is there any old business? Is there any new business? Yes, the clock on the wall shows that it's 7:20 when it's really only 5:20.
It needs a battery.
So I suppose somebody will deal with that.
That's new business.
Yeah, right. Are there any other concerns before we adjourn the meeting?
I would just suggest that attempting to change state law regarding the open meeting law in this political environment would be a challenge and probably not worth pursuing, because the law is the law.
Yeah,
So the public space thing is a nuisance, well-intentioned, but I can't imagine in this environment it would go anywhere. I mean, I've had ideas for legislators that have gone nowhere, but this one will really go nowhere. So no reason to even look at that, I think.
I agree.
Yeah.
We'll figure out how to live within the law,
Yeah.
Yeah,
because that's a good thing.
yeah.
I don't think the law's a good thing. I don't
Well,
see
if
any
there's no further business, I'll declare the meeting
Frankie's
adjourned.
talking.
What? Frankie?
Frankie has a comment.
Oh, gotta raise your hand, I didn't see it.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Thank
I
you.
just said the law is not a good thing. I mean, it doesn't make sense to meet in a public place. There's no rationale for it.
Hey, anybody have a response to that?
Let me run that by Tom Bach and Rob Eklund, and we'll get back to you.
All right.
A couple of years.
Well, hopefully, is there any chance we can get you down here in person, Frankie, if we save you a spot right out front and don't have relatives? I think it's,
We left spots today.
Yeah, I would come down to all the meetings except when it's icy. And I will not come down if it's icy.
sure,
Frankie, where do you come from?
Homestead.
Homestead.
Say it again?
Homestead.
Where's Homestead?
It's up 8th on,
West of
One of those.
8th, 2 blocks.
across from the park and out west.
Across
It's in
from?
town.
Across from what?
The park, like up 8th Avenue.
Oh.
And then west on 3rd or
Third?
whatever.
Oh, Homestead Co-op.
Yeah.
Of course,
Yeah.
I know exactly where it is. It's right, it's my neighbor. Okay, well, if you need a ride, I live just 2 blocks from there, a block and a half. I'd be glad to give you a ride on the bad days.
Okay, that's good.
Make sure, will you send me her email and her cell phone if she's got one, so I can make sure we can contact when that comes
Yes,
along?
Steve.
All right, if there's no further business, I declare the meeting adjourned.
Thank you, Steve. Well done.
Okay.
Thank you, Patrick.
I will
Bob,
send you
Brian.